bells will sound forever. I was sitting in a small park on a drab morning in early spring when a gentleman who looked as if he should be in a hospital sat down on the bench beside me. For a time we both silently stared out at the colourless and soggy grounds of the park, where things were still thawing out and signs of a revived natural life remained only tentative. The bare branches of trees finely outlined against a grey sky. I had seen the other man on previous visits to the park, and when he introduced himself to me by name, I seemed to remember him as a businessman of some sort. The words commercial agent came to my mind as I sat gazing up at the thin, dark branches, and beyond them the grey sky. Somehow our quiet and somewhat halting conversation touched upon the subject of a particular town near the northern border, a place where I once lived. "It's been many years," the other man said, "since I was last in that town." Then he proceeded to tell me about an experience he had had there in the days when he often travelled to remote locales for the business firm he represented, in which, until that time, he had served as a long-term and highly dedicated employee. It was late at night, he told me, and he needed a place to stay before moving on to his ultimate destination across the northern border. I knew as a one-time resident of the town that there were two principal venues where he might have spent the night. One of them was a lodging house on the west side of town that in actuality functioned primarily as a brothel, patronised by travelling commercial agents. The other was located somewhat on the east side of town, in a district of once opulent, but now for the most part unoccupied houses, one of which, according to rumour, had been converted into a hostel of some kind by an old woman named Mrs. Pike, who was reputed to have worked in various carnival sideshows, first as an exotic dancer, then later as a fortune teller, before settling down in the northern border town. The commercial agent told me that he could not be sure if it was misdirection or deliberate mischief that sent him to the east side of town, where there was only a few lighted windows here and there. Thus he easily spotted the vacancy sign that stood beside the steps leading up to an enormous house, which had a number of small turrets that seemed to sprout like so many warts across its facade, and even emerged from the high-peaked roof that crowned the structure. Despite the grim appearance of the house, a miniature ruined castle, as my companion in the park expressed it, not to mention the generally desolate character of the surrounding neighbourhood, the commercial agent said that he was not for a moment deterred from ascending the porch steps. He pressed the doorbell, which he said was a buzzer-type bell, as opposed to the type that chimed or told its signal. However, in addition to the buzzing noise that was made when he pressed the button for the doorbell, he claimed that there was also a jingle or jangle sound similar to that of sleigh bells. When the door finally opened and the commercial agent confronted the heavily made-up face of Mrs. Pike, he simply asked,